So we're back with Jenn Jacques, editor of BearingArms.com. What's going on, Jen? I know we... Sorry. I was muted.
I'm like, what?
Okay. So let's talk about what's going on in Missouri. This is something I can get behind personally. And I've actually, it's a thought that, you know how like, I call them the elusive obvious. Like you hear someone say something, you're like, I always knew that. You really didn't. It just seems so reasonable that when you hear it, you've always thought about it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So there's a representative in Missouri who is trying to pass a bill that would hold establishments liable, establishments that prevented people from bringing their guns into their establishment, hold them liable for any injuries that occurred to individuals who had a right to bring a gun into the establishment, but were prevented from doing that because of a no gun policy. I'm pretty sure there's a much easier way for me to have said that, but I'm not going to say it again.
If a person is being disarmed by a business, then that person then has the right to go after that business and hold them liable for any injuries that they may have sustained in an attack from subsequently being disarmed and unable to defend themselves in that establishment. Who went
much simpler. But
you're right. It makes sense. It's like sliced bread. I mean, why aren't we doing this? But, you know, Tennessee tried to pass a law similar, and then right before it was passed, they put in one little amendment saying, just kidding.
My thing is this. I always said that we always played the defense. We were always on the defense when it comes to this gun rights issue. And then when we, after this election, I was like, okay, now we're in a better position to go on the offense. So right. I have to really applaud this representative for doing this, because it's essentially taking the whole notion that gun-free zones get people killed and kind of moving it to the offensive and saying, okay, now we're going to say, all right, look, okay, ban guns all you want in your establishment, but guess what? If something happens, you're now responsible.
Right. It's basically telling companies you're going to have to put your money where your mouth is. And if you are so confident that gun-free zones will stop someone from entering with a gun, then go ahead and post. And then if someone is disarmed and hurt in your establishment, pay up.
It's baffling because most of these people would not put a sign outside of the front lawn that says there are no guns in this house. No one. I can't think of any individual but an incessant moron who would actually put a sign up in the front lawn that said there were no guns in this house. And this because on a very elementary level, we all understand what that means. It says, I am unarmed and there's nothing I can do about you coming in here and attacking me. Or I'm going to be at an adequate disadvantage if you do attack me, because the only thing I'll have to resort to is maybe a knife or some spoons or whatever it is that I may have in the house, or a bat, right. You know? But for some reason, the world changes when we leave our house and go to other establishments, which are essentially what I call traveling domiciles.
Pretty much.
But for some reason, they feel perfectly okay with putting a sign up on the business that says no guns allowed. And I'm just
now, conversely, would a criminal break into a home that says protected by the Second Amendment, or, you know, enter at your own risk in a picture of block? Like, really? What's a bigger deterrent? Exactly.
It's the same concept of why, you know, ADP. I mean, I knew an individual who didn't even have an alarm system. They just put the ADP sign on the front lawn.
People do that all the time.
Yeah, and I still think it's moronic, but
it is. But that's their idea of protection. Hey, that's fine. More power to you. But my idea of protection is carrying a weapon with me that can defend my life and the lives of my children when I'm not in my home where I have guns situated and I know that I'm safe.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's like, at the end of the day, for someone like me, even with my house, I told the guy when I was installing the surveillance system, I was like, make these cameras as visible as possible. Like, right. I want you to walk into the front door and realize that you are on a reality show right now. Like, because, you know, there's a deterrent factor to it. But at the same time, there are still more guns in my house than food, essentially, which is not saying much because my fridge is empty. But
I was going to say, there you go.
But you know, it's
But we have the same thing. You know, we have them all over the house. And again, I know that I have 3 children, but guess what? They have all been raised around firearms. They all know gun safety. They all know how to handle firearms safely, not just handle firearms safely. And I routinely go over the rules with them. It's not just, I'm going to teach them once and then here you go. But I mean, I'm an editor on Bearing Arms. I'm going to have guns, or I'm like looking, because usually I have them on my desk. Well, here you go. You know, I have right in my office, like.
Is that Scorpion? Oh, wait, no, that's not Scorpion.
This is a P226 Sig Sauer air pistol. But still, you know, I mean, they're around. They're not loaded, but they're around. And hey, God, heaven help the person who breaks into my house at 2 a.m. And I said the other day, you know, somebody, I think it was NRA, published the story, how to conceal carry in cold weather. And I'm like, listen, I'm in northern Wisconsin. Lord help the person who makes me lift my coat and pull my weapon, because I'm not going to stop. Like, seriously, that's how you carry.
It seems like in this, like in today's society, there's this incessant obsession with the illusion of safety instead of the actual levels of safety.
Right. Even that author of the GQ article said, hey, so when she got a knock on her apartment door late at night and she wasn't expecting anyone, she's like, would I even have been able to get to my Glock in my bedroom or not? It doesn't matter. The fact is, I would feel safer knowing it was in the house. And that's what we're talking about, dear snowflakes. Those are your feelings. You feel safer. Okay, great. We feel safer knowing that, hey, if a sticker on a door or a post outside your house isn't going to stop someone, you know.
No, it's interesting to me because the logic that tends to happen is, well, like one of the biggest ones that just drives me insane is this whole notion that, well, if somebody comes into a place and starts shooting, and then there's all these people who are concealed carrying and they have their guns, and then they start shooting, it's going to turn into a shootout. I'm like, it's already a shootout. Somebody's shooting.
Exactly.
Like that. I don't understand that. So we just should let this person just have a free shoot, just shoot unopposed, because we don't want it to turn into a bigger shootout where there are more good guys shooting at the bad guy.
Right. And, you know, I will say this, too, that in the Wisconsin state law, in the concealed carry law, it says that you may not pull your weapon unless you are certain of bodily harm and or death. Okay. But what happens if it's 3 o'clock in the morning and you're a little fuzzy and this person is in your house and you can't quite see? Am I going to go, oh, wait, what are your intentions with my family tonight?
No, I've had a strong position. Once you're in my house, you're a fair game.
Exactly.
There's no questions out. Once you break into someone's house, you have violated the biggest safety space that you can possibly think of or imagine. So I don't. Safety. Yeah, it is. My house is my safe space. And so, like, it's the place where I lay my head. It's the place where I should be allowed to be the most vulnerable. And when you violate that, when you violate the sanctity of somebody's house or home, all bets are off.
You give up all rights.
You have you voluntarily given up your right to live at that point. Right. And so the people who like to question, well, how do you know? I think I was watching a Young Turks episode a long time ago, and the guy was like, you know, guy broke into my house and I didn't even know what to do. I went and got a bat, and you know, and I had the kids and this. And I looked at him and I was like, you are not a man. And it's not even from a chauvinistic kind of machismo standpoint. It's like, you have a family. It's your responsibility to take care of them. It's not your responsibility to put your political ideologies ahead of the safety of your family. This is real life. At the end of the day, go ahead.
I had someone ask me too, they're like, you know, what would you do if someone like ran into Quick Trip right now and pulled a gun? And I said, well, I will be honest with you. I'm not going to look at the people around me and say, do you support my right to carry? I'm literally moving you behind me and putting myself between the threat and you, and then I'm pulling my gun. So what does that say about people who choose to conceal carry? We think more of their lives, regardless of their political affiliation or feelings toward the Second Amendment. You know, in that instant, we are just life-saving.
Yep. No.
That's it. We don't care.
I asked that in a video one time. I was like, you got to think about it. You're worried about me carrying a firearm, but if somebody comes in here and starts shooting, and then I'm shooting at them, which forces them to shoot at me, what does that tell you? They're not shooting at you.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And that's part of the thing that I get so frustrated about is wrestling the narrative of who gun owners in America are away from the mainstream media and the gun grabbers like Shannon Watts. Yeah. I'm so tired of saying, look, we are not all old, fat, white Southern men. I'm sorry. You know, yes, I'm white. I live in the frozen tundra. We have no sunshine, okay? But hey, I'm a woman, I'm a mother, my husband's disabled. Yeah. I am the safety barrier in this house. And I'll tell you another thing. Somebody walked into my house last summer. Walked into my house. Now, we obviously, rural, we're just a small community. Yeah. But my kids were sitting at the table. We're not even fazed. This person just walks into my house and said, oh, I was looking for Dan. And, you know, at that moment, I'm in my kitchen like this. Who? Like, my hand was behind my back and I was like this, like, oh gosh. But boy, does that ever start you. My kids never blinked. Did not even stop doing their little perler beats did not even faze them. Because they were like, Mom's got this.
That is cute. That's I've had a similar story about that, but I'll tell that later after we come back from this break.